Hi there, it's Rob from Onstage Lighting. Welcome to another video on using AutoCAD for theatre drawings. Today we're going to be looking at the basics of using layers. Layers are very important in all kinds of CAD because they can help you to kind of navigate and deal with large amounts of information, particularly on very busy drawings. So using layers well is important. We're going to learn how to create a new layer and to set the different settings on the layer itself and also on other layers. And we're also going to use layers with properties to deal with things like line types and colours and stuff. The key thing to understand about layers in AutoCAD is that it's kind of like different transparencies of the drawing which all sit on top of each other. If you're used to using Vectorworks, you're used to using layers, but also you're used to using classes. Classes and layers in Vectorworks are slightly different. In AutoCAD, basically the AutoCAD users only use layers for the purposes of setting line weights and colours, and also for navigation of the different parts of the document, and to help you draw on things that you don't want to draw, or do you want to draw on, and things that you want to avoid moving around to lock. So in some ways that's very much very different to how Vectorworks users use classes and layers. Okay, so let's go over to AutoCAD then. So the thing we haven't really looked at yet is when we started this series of videos, we made sure that we had this thing here, which in the Mac version is the Layers Manager. We made sure we had it open. And we haven't really done anything with it. And that's because every time we've been drawing something, we've just drawn stuff on the default layer in AutoCAD. Now the default layer in AutoCAD is called Layer 0. And as far as I was always taught, best practice in AutoCAD is to not use Layer 0 for anything that you use yourself and create. And so what you should always do is start creating a new layer. One of the reasons for that is that often if other people draw on Layer 0 and you end up importing drawings and stuff, you can kind of end up with a muddle of information and objects on Layer 0. So the sort of conventional wisdom, as far as I understand it, was always never to use Layer 0 for anything of your own, and to have it as kind of the default layer, but always to start drawing on your own brand new layer. So that's what we're going to do today. As I say, the layers sit in a stack, and you can tell that by all of the little icons in the Layers Manager. It's kind of look like a load of sheets of paper on top of each other. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. And that new layer basically gives us the option. The first one is called Layer 1, but we could just call it, I don't know, let's call it Venue, because we're doing a theatre style thing. When you type in the name of Venue, it basically creates a new layer, and then you have these little things down here which basically give you the option to turn layers on and off. And it says, if you click on the one that says 0 at the moment, it says, do you want to turn the current layer off? Now you get all these different things, but basically when the little LED looking thing is active, it's got a little check next to it. And that means that the layer is actually visible. When it's got a hole in it, it means it's not visible. So if I make up a couple of other layers as well, let's call one Set, and let's call one New One LX. Okay, so I've got my layers here. What I need to do is I need to make sure that the thing that I'm going to be drawing on is going to be on my Venue layer. So what I need to do is go to the very top of the layers palette and just go down the layers list, drop down the very box at the top, and go down the layers list and select my Venue layer. That means that the next thing I draw is going to become something that is part of the Venue layers layer. And what that does is it basically makes the current layer, the one we're working on at the minute. That means now that when I draw something, if we look in the Properties Inspector and look at the current properties of this particular object, you can see it's a polyline, it's basically a rectangle, and you can see it's on Layer Venue. Now I can change it to being on another layer by dropping down that box there, but basically it's on Layer Venue. So I can draw that rectangle's on Venue. On my set, I'm going to have that's my venue. I'm going to have some kind of circular stage on my venue, so I'm going to click that, that's my stage, and at the moment I've drawn that on the, if you see, I'll select it up, I've drawn it on the venue layer. What I want to do is I want to put it onto the set layer, so I can change that in that way. Now the thing is, I can also change the colour of that particular layer itself by going into the layer, choosing a colour, calling it red for example. The venue I'll call, I don't know, the cyan. And you can see what I'm doing now is basically I'm changing up the different parameters based on the layer itself. So anything that I draw on the set layer will now become red. Anything I draw on, so if I draw another piece of set here, you see it's red. If I draw something else in the venue layer, it becomes blue. Now, those two layers there, I can, if I want to, you see I can turn the set layer off. I can also lock it so that basically I can't select the things on that particular layer and move them around. So that's quite cool. So basically what you should do is when you're starting a real drawing, you should set up your layers. If you've got an imported drawing, it probably will have a lot of layers on it anyway. And with any luck, the person who drew the theatre drawing has made some kind of sense of the layers. But basically that's a way of dealing with the first thing. We won't worry too much about other layer tools at the moment. The key thing is just to understand that you can use the layer to draw the object on. You can also turn layers on and off, and also you can set the colour of the drawings, of the lines in the drawing by the layer themselves. Hopefully that's been useful. I'll see you soon.